order. Meeting of the Board of Adjustment, May 16, 2019, about to commence. Let's all rise. And Councilor.
Public allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you very much. And we'll open meetings, act statements will be included in the record for tonight.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by adoption of the appropriate resolutions listing the 2019 meeting dates. By adoption of supplemental resolutions, by emailing a copy of said resolutions to the record and to a standard, following a copy of the Township Clerk's office by posting on the municipal bulletin board, the statement will be included in the minutes.
Thank you, so ordered. Will you give roll call, please?
Ms. Holness?
Here.
Chair Meyer?
Yes.
Vice Chair Rosen?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here. Okay, thank you very much. The minutes to be approved, the memorialization of resolution to be approved, so we're going to continue with the hearing ZP 2016-8, 100 State Street, LLC, presented by Ms. Berger. You call Judge, correct?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. And I know you have a little bit with your voice, so try to, the best you can, to keep your voice up.
Yes, I will. I'm going to take the microphone and go to our expert knowledge myself so we can have microphones down by the plans.
Good. Now, also for anyone, welcome everyone. For those who have never been to a zoning meeting before, there are certain procedures. They are available just for informational purposes only with our clerk, or I think there's a listed, but where are the extras of the procedures?
Right there on the podium.
On the podium.
The agenda.
So let's maybe have them move over to the side so they don't disturb the proceeding if they would like a copy of the hearing. So let's do that. Can we have those move, please? Over to the side on the steps over here. And let's also make a record reflect that Mr. Mermelstein and Ms. Prince. And they have arrived to be okay. Ms. Berger, please present.
We're going to be continuing the presentation with the same witness that we had last time, who is the project engineer, David Gillespie.
Before you continue, I just want to know, are there any additional plans that were, amended plans that were made?
Yes.
Or your microphone is not on? No, Chris, there's a green line on the works. Okay, ask the gentleman over there to help you in the green.
No.
Thank you. That's better. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Chairman, where would you like me to stand? Here, there, facing the audience, facing you guys?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It would be helpful if we could see the aisle.
Excuse me?
It would be helpful if we could see your result, and any member of the public who wishes to see it can come closer so we can see the result.
Are you speaking to the mic, please?
Is that better?
Perfect. I was just making the point that anybody would like to see the plan, you can see it.
The last plan that we haven't presented and want to present tonight is the lighting plan for the facility. This is sheet C 8.00. This is the ground floor lighting plan. The project has two different,
Before we go further, do we need to mark this separate and to change?
it has not changed. It's the same set of plans that were before the board last meeting.
So let's continue with the numbering system we have, which these are all part of the 31-page set known as Exhibit A2. And you have indicated this is C, do I have that correct?
That's correct.
C 8.00, ground floor lighting.
That's correct. As I was saying, the lighting proposed for this facility, there's two different types of lights. We have recessed lights for the parking garage, and then we have building mounted lights. And actually we have some bollard lights. On C 8.0,
Question was, there was updated plans, and the answer was no, correct?
the civil engineering plans that are presenting were not updated.
Because you told me last time, and I don't know if there was a change made, that there was an ability to add 125 parking spots on the upper level of unattended parking spots. Ms. Wendy Berger is standing up, so she has something to say, I'm sure.
Mr. Mayor, we will address that question that you asked. We will address it after you're done finishing with the direct testimony to finish the set of plans. I will go back and answer questions that were raised in the last hearing.
Because if the change in configuration, if the change in configuration of the parking, I'm sure will then affect the lighting plan. That's why I'm asking now.
Right,
Excuse me, Ms. Berger's responses aren't heard through a microphone.
Wendy, stop for a second. For a moment, when we were talking with David, we heard you very clearly, just for a moment. Now, I don't think anyone can hear you. Stay on that mic and speak much louder.
sorry, we did not change the plan, but we will address your question.
To get back to the lighting plan, on the ground floor concept and the plan before you, we have some building mounted lighting and some bollard mounted lighting. This lighting will provide illumination for pedestrians both walking on the sidewalk and accessing the building from the public sidewalk to the front entrances to the building. On the sheet, which is an accompanying sheet, it's sheet 8.01. This is called the lighting plan for the lower and the upper level. What this sheet depicts is the lighting for the individual parking decks, and you can see that the lighting is a recessed style lighting mounted to the ceiling of the deck, portraying light downward, and what you see is there's no spillage onto the adjacent properties because we have deflectors on them. So the lighting, although we provide substantial illumination on site, there's no net effect on the adjacent properties along the perimeter of the property. That really concludes, the direct testimony on the lighting. If there's questions on it, I can ask, or I can move on.
Yes, I'd like to go back to the street part lighting.
Yes, sir.
Could you show us and the audience any particular lighting that's dedicated to the entranceway to the garages?
Yes, sir. There's 4 specific building mounted light fixtures, one in each corner and one located on either side of the lobby. It's a forward throw building mounted light that provides illumination for both the driveways and the sidewalk along the frontage.
Will those be on all the time, or are they only activated by motion?
Those will be on all the time.
And is it your opinion that the lighting as proposed complies with the ordinance requirements of the municipality?
I believe so, yes.
And is it your opinion that the lighting as proposed will supply sufficient lighting on the site for safety, movement, access?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the board for this witness? Hearing none.
I would now like to go into answering some of the questions that were raised by the board at the last hearing that this witness can answer.
Okay, please.
Do I could-
Sure.
At the last hearing, a question was raised about possibly expanding the upper level parking deck. Have you reviewed that?
Yes, I have.
And who have you reviewed it yourself, and have you reviewed it with others?
Yes, I have, both.
And could you tell the board what your findings are in that regard?
Chairman, as requested, we took a look at the opportunity to extend the upper level to the back rear property line. And your question originally was, if you extend it, how many additional spaces can you gain? The first answer to that is we can potentially gain 25 spaces if we extend it. The negative aspect of it is, if we extend that and eliminate the potential municipal lot that we're proposing across the street, I think that is more of a benefit to the community, and the reason being this. We feel that the existing parking on-site, as proposed, is sufficient for our building. The parking that we're proposing across the street is really a public benefit. If the spaces on-site are not used, we have a gated arms, the public cannot come on-site and use those spaces. I think the spaces across the street...
Excuse me, why do you come with the notion that you're not supposed to, if you want to get this application through with the conditions of completing the parking lot across the street? What does that to do with how many spaces you have underneath the building?
The requirement for parking is based upon RSIS.
I understand that. But if you had intent to increase the spaces underneath the building, I didn't ask you whether or not you're gonna not go through or cancel the agreement or possibility to develop the parking site across the street. It was only as to the additional parking on the building. I was concerned about last time, and that's what you answered. And I, foresaw some consideration that would increase the overall parking, and maybe that the public could benefit even more from the parking across the street that would be accessible to anyone.
Understood.
But with regard to the proposed increase, have you determined that that's not the best only alternative for the site?
Well, on top of, the extending the building versus the off-street parking, extending the existing parking to the rear along the property line, this second floor is elevated. And at that far corner, you would see an elevated parking deck approximately 15 feet above grade. And I think at that close proximity to the adjacent properties, I think it becomes as an imposing figure because it's going to be made out of concrete, which is why I think the intention of the architect was to provide that step back and that architectural feature rather than a straight flat wall along the adjacent property.
Is there going to be parking behind that wall?
Well, there's existing residential homes here. I don't know what their concept is for parking.
No, but were there garages behind it?
No,
Those garages have been removed.
Right, so they were going to be used for additional parking behind the wall, so, okay, whatever.
So in your testimony, you're saying that if that deck was extended, there would be a wall that would be constructed approximately 15 foot high above grade of cement surrounding that parking deck. Is that on 3 sides?
That's correct.
And that is not in keeping with the design, which is to open up the area to light and air for the surrounding properties,
That's correct.
which is also the design of the building as a steep step design.
That's correct. If you see the undulations within the building where you have the architect made modifications to have the building come in and out, provide architectural interest, I think the way the deck is in keeping with his design.
With regard to the request for additional parking, you would then have additional parking spaces that would be tandem, and they would be for 1-bedroom units. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it would also cover what would be the guest, so-called
That's correct.
So in your opinion, is it,
Go ahead. Are you testifying or this is?
in your opinion, is extending the deck a benefit for this project?
I don't believe it is. And I explain the reasons why.
There was also a question.
Okay, go ahead.
There was also a question raised at the last hearing as to provision of areas for bicycles and an area for a motorcycle. Have you looked at that?
That's correct, I have. I looked at both parking levels. We can accommodate motorcycle parking and covered bicycle parking at both parking levels. I can pull up the site plan and give you the approximate location they'll be located and quantify. Sure.
Please do that.
I'm going to be referring to sheet C 4.01. This is the site improvements plan for the lower and the upper level parking areas. And I'm going to just pan over first at the upper level. The basically far left corner on the plan, there's a hashed area. We can accommodate 2 motorcycle spaces at that location. And if you pan at the same upper level parking area to the bottom right, we also have a hashed area in that location. We can provide a space for 2 additional motorcycles and approximately 5 covered bicycle parking spaces at that location. That's the upper level. In the lower level, similarly, we can provide next to the lobby area, now I'm pointing up to the lower level parking area, right next to the lobby area, since there's no doors in that location, we can provide covered bicycle spaces at that location. Again, we could probably fit another 5 bicycle spaces and additional motorcycle space at that level as well.
Additionally, at the last hearing, there was a question about room for a place for children to play at the building or on site. Have you looked at the plan in that regard as well?
Yes, I did.
Could you please tell
Sure.
me?
I'm going to need the architectural plan just to illustrate the location. Can I see the floor plan, please? The floor plan illustrates the flex space and the open space. Yes. I'm going to be referring to sheets A-200. This was also part of the original set that was submitted. And I just want to point to the center, where it illustrates a tenant's common area of approximately 1,200 square feet. The owner has the ability to provide an area that could be dedicated to the children that will be in that building within that tenant's common area. There's also a flex space on the lower level that is open, that can also be utilized as a children's play area as well. That's internal to the building.
And is it your opinion that in this specific site, it's best to have a children's play area within the building rather than exterior?
I agree, yes. I think the lower areas, we want to provide a nice buffer on either side of the building, and that area is, it's approximately 15 feet. I think the internal area where you can watch over the kids is a better alternative.
Anything else further? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Questions?
Yes, there was one more question.
There's one more request made. It was regarding speed bumps coming in and out of the driveways. Yes, that's correct. Mr. Roser, we took a look at that and we could accommodate on both driveways speed bumps. We just have to confer with your engineer at what location he prefers them to be. I think they'll be partially covered. I think you want to approach the speed bump right before you approach the stop bar. So it kind of give you a warning that there's a stop sign coming up. So it'll just be partially covered on either side of the driveway.
Sorry, I have a question. If we can go back to the parking, the 25 extra spaces. Is it a fair assessment that the decision to not go through with the parking is purely for aesthetic reasons, not necessarily the impossibility or any safety concerns?
I think aesthetics reasons is one reason. I think the usability of those spaces for potentially a one bedroom that may never use them. And the other reason is, for zoning reasons, is just the proximity of that building wall and it being elevated right on the property line. I think it's an imposing solid structure at that location.
There was another question that was raised at the hearing with regard to snow removal.
Right.
Has that been investigated?
Yes, we contacted some contractors regarding this facility in particular, and what they told us was if there was a substantial storm, this area, which is approximately 4,000 feet, they would be able to plow it and remove it off site from the facility, basically haul it off site.
And they would be able to get under the building to do that?
Excuse me?
Mr. Meyer, can you hear me?
They would be able to get under the building to do that?
Well, the plowing portion of the operation would be like a typical pickup truck because that area is so small. They would plow it and come down the ramp and then they would dispose of it.
Push it out?
That's
From
correct.
under the garage?
That's right.
Okay. Now, you're an engineer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you testifying as a planner tonight?
I am not.
Okay. So the opinion whether or not from a planning perspective, additional 25 spaces would benefit this application is really outside your purview. Wouldn't you agree with me on that?
From a planning standpoint, yes, I could agree.
Thank you.
If the 25 extra spaces were added, would they be tandem parking?
Yes, sir.
So you would have not double tandem parking, you would have triple tandem parking?
No, sir. The extension would happen on the upper level where those are all single spaces. Those will become tandem, not triple.
Okay.
And sir, from an engineering standpoint, you could have one-bedroom apartments where there could be 2 cars in that household. Isn't that correct?
I think I'll leave that answer to our planner because he does have statistics, and I think in our earlier first meeting, our traffic engineer testified that on average, you're gonna, based on the census, that there's 1.1 spaces per unit in Teaneck. So is it possible? Yes, it's possible. It's also possible that a 2-bedroom may only need 1 space.
Okay, but that was not my question. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone from the board has any questions to this?
I just had one more question. With regard to parking, if you did have to increase the size of the deck to 25 spaces, would you then by RSIS be allowed to count street parking for the meeting the code requirement?
Yes, you can count them at this time.
Thank you. Question from our council expert. Just identify you from the record and also get a microphone that can work. Then go to the podium when you ask the question. Say your name and affiliation.
Joseph Mitch, Swanley Halls Engineering. There's just a couple items in the report that I think we just need to go over.
If you just for the record, just state the date of the report.
Sure. It was a letter written February 21st, 2019. Item number 40 discusses that the underground detention basins proposed within 5 feet of the township sanitary sewer main and within 2 feet of the property line. Oh, I'm sorry. The underground detention basin is proposed within 5 feet of the township sanitary sewer main and within 2 feet of the property line. There's a high possibility that excavation of the sanitary sewer by the township in the future would adversely...
Nobody can keep up or write down what you're saying, reading at top speed. Slow it significantly, or we're way behind.
Yes. There is a possibility that excavation of the sanitary sewer by the township in the future would adversely affect the privately owned detention basin on the subject's property. So we recommend that the applicant TV, inspect, and repair as required the sanitary sewer along the length of the property frontage, and possibly install permanent sheathing along the entire length of the proposed detention basin adjacent to the sanitary sewer, so that the sewer can be excavated in the future.
You gotta slow down, man. She's kidding her. I'm sorry. Joseph, I'm not trying to write with a pen. I gave up a long time ago, and I thought I was trying to write with a set. All right, so apparently there is an underground detention basin near some municipal sewer lines.
Yes, the proposed, right, the proposed.
Tell us what you want.
We want them to TV inspect the sewer and ensure that it's in good condition, because if the township excavates the sewer in the future, it is going to impact their privately owned detention basin. So we're recommending that they provide a sanitary sewer easement along the frontage of the property, and to TV inspect and line and repair, if necessary, the township sewer during the construction, so that we don't have to go back in the future and excavate.
Ms. Berger, would you agree with that?
What our experts say.
Yes, we do, Chairman.
Thank you. Next.
The sewer calculations for the project are over 8,000 gallons a day. So they will be required to get a treatment works approval from the DEP. So,
Will agree to that, correct?
Yes, I do, Chairman.
and they'll have to monitor the sewage flow if necessary to make sure that there's no adverse impacts on the township line and verify the capacity.
And they will also agree to that.
Yes, Chairman.
Will they agree to shore up the adjacent structures along the property line as necessary to build their project?
Yes, we do, Mr. Vince.
Okay. And the last thing, second to last thing, is that there's utility poles at the rear of the property along the property line. We believe that they serve and provide power for the adjacent properties. And it's going to be where the proposed building is located. They're going to need to relocate those poles and provide the power to the adjacent property somehow, and provide a utility easement for that power.
We will provide continuous electrical service to the adjacent properties.
Are you requiring them also to put the electrical service and other utilities underground in the frontage of the building?
Well, the line is along the rear. Yeah, for their building, the electric should be required to be underground.
Would
Yeah.
you agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And just the last thing we touched upon last meeting, and for water quality purposes, I talked to Mr. Chesneski about the drainage design, and we believe that it can be designed and technically okay.
Technically okay. In other words, does the township engineer approve the technical drawings as to the drainage?
We've looked at them in concept. There's a few things in the report that are going to need to be addressed if the board grants the approval. But based on our review of the drainage calculations at this time, we feel that what's being proposed is reasonable. And this application, if the board chooses to approve it, anything that's outstanding at this point is technical in nature and can be dealt with between the engineers after the fact.
So you were satisfied with the drainage calculations on this application
if it was used.
Yes, the only thing we just want to reiterate is that if there has to be an underground manufactured treatment device for water quality on the lot across the street, that the applicant shall be responsible to maintain it through a homeowners association, and the burden is not put on the DPW.
Okay, so that would be in the bylaws or whatever.
Right, if they can figure out a surface basin, then the maintenance won't be too difficult for the DPW, but an underground structure does require service contracts and things of that nature, and we recommend that the applicant be responsible to maintain that rather than.
Will the applicant be responsible for that?
We will comply if required by DEP to provide a water quality device.
Well, I think it's not by the DEP, I think it's by what the engineer suggests would be the best solution because they have an understanding of the surrounding need for this.
Chairman, if your engineer requires it, we will provide it.
Thank you. Okay? No, it's okay. Next, anyone else from the board have any questions of this witness?
If you could board professionals.
Well, they haven't said anything, so I guess it's no. All right. Anyone from the public have questions of this witness as to what he testified to? Ma'am? Yeah, go ahead. And there's a lady behind. Why don't you come stand up? Everybody wants to talk to and ask questions only as to this witness. Form a line here to my right, good, and then go to the podium, please. Good evening. Hi, first address us and tell us who you are.
Hi.
And then we can proceed.
Okay, good evening. My name is Debbie Eliyahu. I'm a Teaneck resident.
Spell it, please.
Eliyahu. And the first thing I want to address is the indoor play areas. The fact that there's nothing outdoor.
Questions. Let's try a question. Please.
Yes, it's a question. You say that that's safer because parents can watch their children. Does that mean that it is, that there's no room for children to play outdoors if parents feel that they can competently supervise their children outside as they would in a park, for example, or in a playground outside, or in a side yard or backyard in a home?
I believe and I think we could accommodate some area external to the building if that was a concern by this board and the residents. We could potentially accommodate some small area on either side of the building.
When you say small area, what kind of small are you talking about?
Well, we have a 15-foot buffer, approximately 100 feet deep, so we can take a look at what we can do. And we would have to balance providing sufficient buffer from this building to the adjacent property and try to, provide an outdoor area at that location.
What's the potential area you're suggesting?
It's about 15 feet in length on either side and maybe approximately 100 feet in depth.
But was that space used for moving in and moving out?
There is a dedicated loading area. That's why I said it's limited because we have a dedicated loading area and we have some buffer landscaping on that side. So that 15 foot, is much less. It's approximately 10, and that depth is less, approximately maybe 50 to 70 feet of usable area.
So based upon that size, it was your opinion that having an indoor area was a better zoning alternative, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Next question, ma'am.
Okay, now you mentioned that you're going by the census for about the number of cars per bedrooms. When was that, which census are you talking about? The United States Census?
I was referring to the testimony of the traffic engineer that was concluded 2 meetings ago.
2 years ago?
2 meetings ago.
2 meetings ago, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you done any, okay, I need to look into this, but, okay. Is this information based specifically on that area?
What information information are you asking?
The 1.1 cars
Okay,
per.
so I think this witness are not really
Okay.
the right person to ask. It was the traffic engineer or planner that can better ask, because the line is sitting down there. He's going to be up, I'm sure, later tonight. And I think he's the right person who should ask those questions. And you can really as much as you want.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Okay, so I think you should save that ammunition and that question for you.
Thank you. And also, about the issue of the parking spots under the building versus across the street, are you aware that people who live in a building long enough learn how to game these systems and learn efficient ways of managing to make exceptional use of the rules so that they can make sure that they always find parking for their cars? I say that as somebody who's lived in Manhattan and had exceptional parking at all times.
I'm going to just say that I don't think that's the appropriate person to answer that question.
I don't think it's a real question for this engineer. He designs and so on. It's not really about the real use of the building. I think that comes from someone else who testified to it.
Well, it was the issue of having the parking under the building versus across the street.
Right.
And whether or not that the people who have the cars parked across the street, whether that would really be for municipal use,
Right.
as opposed to being basically saved for the residents of the building.
I hear your point, and I tried also to on his testimony as to
Yes,
what he was talking
I
about.
heard it. I couldn't really pull it out.
Okay, but that's okay. I don't think it's a question for this witness. Ms. Berger is dying to say something, but we're going to hold her for a second. So I think we're going to ask that question also of Mr. Light, because I think he's smiling and he's waiting for that question. So he's going to be ready to answer that question for you.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget it. There were 2 questions for you. So now, next one, anything else you would like to ask this witness?
Is there time for comments?
Yeah, at the end of the application, it may be today, it may be in 6 meetings, I don't know when it ends.
Okay.
When it ends, you can speak to your heart's content almost.
Okay.
About what you would like to tell the board why we should deny the application or vote for the application.
Thank you.
And that will be the right time to come with your comments. And then you can sworn in advance when you come to the podium. Right, I'm going to the council here.
I appreciate your guidance.
I'm sorry?
I appreciate your guidance, and I'll be happy to take the oath and
We'll help
tell you
you.
what I know.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next up was the lady over there, 1, 2. I think the lady in the back. Yes, come on, brown. Or Berkeley. Yes, Berkeley. Ma'am, you want to, sir, you want to say all the line? I have to speak to the. Okay. Please state your name. Good evening.
Good evening, my name is Juanita Brown, Teaneck resident. A lot was said about the parking and I'm not sure that I understood it correctly.
So now is the process where you ask a question of this witness only.
Okay.
He's an engineer. So he talked about the design of the parking, he talked about the structure of the building, and anything that is an engineering question that he already testified to.
Okay.
So you're more than welcome to ask questions of him only.
To my understanding and remembrance, so much was said about parking and such. You said something to the effect that there would be additional parking that would be a benefit to the community and to the visitors or guests of the residents. But
That's
then
correct.
Ms.
Question.
Berger, and well, the question, then Ms. Berger said that the residents won't have access to it. So the question is.
No, I think you misunderstood.
Maybe.
Let me tell you, I think what I understood.
Okay.
And if Ms. Berger disagrees with me, she can correct me.
I just need clarification.
Okay. I think she said the following, that the access under the building would be a gated or some kind of controlled access. Access to the parking lot across the street is public and will be available for anyone at all times. Correct, Ms. Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for
Thank you.
your knowledge and everybody else, the owners of this project have agreed, if this project were to pass, and correct me if I'm wrong, to renovate the space across the street and make it accessible to the township for public parking. And presumably that would be available to the residents of this building, but anybody in the public could make access to that space. So when we talk about public space across the street, that's what we're referring to. It doesn't exist yet, but again, if this application were approved, the buildings have committed to finishing that space and paving it, making it accessible as any other municipal space would be available.
Okay, so then it would be accessible for the guests.
Correct.
And it is, just for your information, it's 44 parking spots across the street.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Next person. Please come up and stand in line so we can officially use our time as well. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good evening, William Lewis, Teaneck resident. My first question.
Well, but we need to spell your last
spell my
name.
last name, okay. William Lewis, Lewis, Teaneck resident. My first question.
What is your address?
Do I have to give my address? In council, I don't have to give it, so he said just say Teaneck
You
resident.
don't have to give me. I'm asking what is your
Prefer not
address?
to, thank you.
You prefer not to.
Regarding-
Question for this gentleman.
I know, okay, this is my first question regarding the 25 additional parking spaces, you explained that you would extend the top level of the parking garage.
The chairman asked if we were to extend it, how many spaces would we gain?
Okay, and you commented that you would have to build a concrete wall. You stated that, that's what you said.
That's correct, ma'am.
And you also stated that across that wall, there's the residential property.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. Now, in all probability, would you say that it's probable that the residential property across that concrete wall may be windows of the residents facing that concrete wall? Is that a probability?
Wait, just repeat that, ma'am. I didn't hear you.
Okay, here's your concrete wall. Here's the residence on the other side of the concrete wall. I'm asking, is it probable? Or is there a possibility that the residents there will be windows there in that residence that are now facing that concrete wall? Is that a possibility?
That is a possibility.
Okay, thank you. My second question. Okay, explain to me, you said that you have to move the utility pole if you do this complex. And you said that you guarantee or something like that, that the residents would have continuous use of their electrical, whatever it is.
That's correct, ma'am.
And explain to me how they have continuous use when you have to remove the pole and put it somewhere else. Explain to me.
I will. The engineer was referring to a utility pole that's located in the back right corner. I think that utility pole provides electrical service to the building that is just adjacent to us. What PSC&G would do is install a new pole first before they took that off service, and they would transfer the service from the existing pole to the new pole. It would be a delay, maybe an hour or two, but that could be done. Same thing if you were during a power outage, there's a transfer of repair from the existing to the new.
So they possibly would have an hour or 2 hours of inconvenience.
That's correct, ma'am. They would coordinate with the homeowner, let them know ahead of time when that would occur. That way there's no inconvenience to them.
Okay, my next question. Okay, the young lady before me asked about, I believe, no, it was two women before me, I believe, asked about the play area. And you stated that it's indoors rather than outdoors.
That's correct, ma'am.
Now, would you agree, or perhaps it's a possibility, since your development will have a setback of 9.9 feet in the front, when it's required to have 30 feet in the front, is that possibly why there's no play area for the children?
I think with respect to the subject, that's more planning, Chairman.
Yeah, I think it's Mr. Lyden is the one that you have to address that question to.
Okay.
I think. Ms. Berger?
Yes. I think that's
Mr. Lyden, you're going to be a busy man tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Thank you very much for asking.
Teresa Edwards, EDWA, RDS, Teaneck resident. Am I allowed to ask questions about this previous testimony of the last meeting?
I'm sorry?
Am I allowed to ask questions going back to this testimony at the last meeting?
Sure.
Okay. In the last meeting, you were talking about the move in and move out zone and how the moving vans could be
Can you speak a little slower because I have a hard time following your question. Okay, so if I can understand, I'm not sure he can understand, but there's not taking a chance.
Okay, at the previous meeting, you were talking about the moving in and the moving out zone, and that the moving vans could be in the front of the building while people were moving in without impeding traffic in the eastbound because of the wide lanes. When you stated this, did that take into account that there's a bus stop right in front of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how would that, can you explain to me how that
Well,
worked?
the bus stop, actually, the plan I have in front of me, luckily is Exhibit 1, which I presented last time. The bus stop is located at this location. If you have and this is a substantial truck I'm showing here. If the truck is parked a little further back, the bus can come in and park and then continue wherever they're headed. Same thing with other traffic, they can bypass this truck. And that's if the moving is being done by a large truck. Most of the units are between, I believe, 680 to 1,200 square feet. We're going to have an on-site loading area where a typical single-unit truck, 30-foot long, with the size of UPS trucks, can kind of come in, park there. The loading can be done without that pattern.
Yeah, no, I remember that part. I was more concerned about
Sure.
the long end. So a bus would be able to come up and be flush with the
With the curb?
sidewalk, yeah, with the curb.
Yes, ma'am.
Without jutting into the traffic.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next person, please. Ma'am, just move up. So you move. Ma'am, just move down, please.
They told me not to.
Yes. Good evening.
No.
Good evening, James Beach, VPACH, Teaneck resident. Teaneck resident.
So where do you live, sir?
The council doesn't ask for that information.
I'm asking you.
There's a reason, and I think people are entitled, and I think you should respect their decision not to give their addresses. There's a reason for that.
Ask the question.
And there's a history.
You're an attorney, you know better. Ask the question.
Sir, first, can you spell your last name?
Sure. VEACH. Now, Teaneck requires in its zoning code, building code, it requires 9-foot wide parking spaces, correct?
That's correct.
Why did Teaneck adopt a 9-foot wide parking space?
I'm going to object to that. He would not know why he adopted it.
Fair objection.
If he's going to talk, if he's going to testify.
Hello, when I speak, you don't. Please. That's how they do go. But I'll hear you up. No, I'm not. That's how. Would you like to comment to the objection? You have a reason why you wanna? I'm very inclined to sustain the objection. You're an attorney, you know what that means. So if you want me to hear you on that, let's go.
Yes, please. And this gentleman is testifying about providing us with either 36 or 46 8-foot spaces. Teaneck requires 9. If he knows what he's talking about, he should be able to explain to us why Teaneck insists on 9-foot wide parking. If he knows, if he's not qualified, then he shouldn't be talking about parking spaces.
Well, there's a difference between knowing what the ordinance and what the regulations say and the reason why it's done that way. That's the difference. And the objection is sustained. Next question.
But we can agree that Teaneck does require 9-foot wide parking spaces, correct?
That is correct.
You're proposing either 36 or 46
8-foot wide parking spaces, correct?
That's correct.
Which is it, 36 or 46?
36.
These 36 spaces are located in particular parts of the building?
They're both decks.
They're on both decks.
That's correct.
Are they in particular areas of both decks?
Well, specifically, since you asked, the parking spaces stripe to stripe, they're 9 by 18, all of them. The exception is at the column supports for the building for double level. That's the only pinch point. The physical parking space and the usable space is indeed 9 by 18. The only pinch point, like I said, is at the column locations, and those column locations are not located where you would impede access to a vehicle by the doors of the front or rear passengers.
Does Teaneck require the 9-foot wide spaces because they're worried about impeding traffic?
I don't know the reason why.
He answered, he doesn't know why. Next question.
Have you talked to the township engineer about putting 36 spaces on the 8-foot wide?
The township engineer has reviewed these plans.
And did he explain to you why Teaneck insists on 9 feet?
He did not explain that.
What about across the street? Are they going to be 9 foot or 8 foot?
They're going to be 9 foot.
You're doing 8 foot to get as many parking spaces as you can into the building.
That's
a statement, it's not a question.
We'll hear the question when it's finished. He didn't finish his question. Mr. Beach finished, Attorney Beach finished his question. And then if you have an objection, we'll make an objection, I'll rule on it, like I'm supposed to, and then we'll continue. That's the rule, it goes for both sides.
Sir, you're proposing 36 8-foot spaces to get as many parking spaces as you can into that building. Isn't that correct?
That's incorrect, sir. Like I said earlier, the physical striped parking space from space to space is indeed 9 foot. The only reason we are asking for a variance for the width is because of the columns from the upper level. At that point, it decreases to 8 foot.
In other words, you're saying, I'm going to stripe a 9-foot area, but there's a pole coming down.
That's
into
right.
the parking space.
That's right. Well, it's either, if you look at most parking deck designs, the poles are intentionally located at the stripe, because if they were in the middle of the space, you couldn't park them. So that's the design is intentional to be at the stripe, that way you get full access.
How many spaces are affected by the poles that we're talking about? Sorry. How many parking spaces are affected by poles being present, therefore reducing it from 9 to 8? How many?
36.
36. The rest of the parking, though, are the 9 foot wide as required. It's only 36 in question, correct? 36 in question that are affected by these poles.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Beach, any other questions?
We heard questions from the chair and other people asking why you couldn't add more parking spaces at the rear of the building. Do you recall that?
At the rear of the building?
You were asked about, couldn't you add additional parking spaces?
Yeah, I believe I asked that.
And I think you said you declined to do that. You're not going to do that, right?
Declined, I just gave them the board alternatives why I feel the best alternative would be to provide the municipal parking lot across the street, and the negative impacts would be to extending them.
But if you did additional parking spaces in that building, would they be 8-foot spaces or 9-foot spaces? In other words, what are some poles?
Depending on the pole locations, again, we're going to be pushing them back at the column locations, that's correct.
Now, we've had testimony, you provided testimony at the last hearing about drainage.
Yes, sir.
And you have going to have a catchment system?
A what?
A catchment system? And that catchment system requires that you maintain water quality control.
That's correct.
Across the street, if I recall your testimony before, That had not been addressed, whether you would have a catchment across the street.
We do have one across the street as well.
Did you come up with that after your testimony last time?
No, sir, it was on the original plans.
Now, could you explain to us and people who are here, what do you mean by a catchment system? How does this work?
DEP requires, based on development of this nature, that you collect the rainwater for means through catch basins and inlets. You collect it, you store it somehow on site, whether it's an above-ground detention basin or through pipes underground or through chambers. And then they require you to release it at a much slower rate than currently occurs off-site to the municipal system. So basically, DEP mandates that you actually reduce the amount of flow going into the municipal system.
So that you don't overcome Teaneck's system?
That's correct.
And you also have to treat that water, correct?
That's correct.
How do you treat it?
A number of ways. You can, DEP has a whole manual guidance on how to do that. You can do a manufactured treatment device, as your engineer mentioned. There's also different methods, sand filters, there's a variety of ways.
If you had only designed a 9-unit apartment building there, you would have left a lot more ground around it, correct?
You repeat that again, sir?
If instead of trying to get 68 units on these 3 lots, if you had only designed a building with 9 units, you would leave a lot of open space around the building, correct?
You would still have to comply to DEP requirements regardless of what type of development we're repeating.
Wouldn't there be a lot less runoff?
Well, this system that we're proposing improves substantially the runoff from this site. Whether it could be a different use, an office building, whatever, this system that we're proposing dramatically improves the off-site impacts on this site.
So doesn't the building itself, doesn't it increase the amount of runoff?
Yeah, naturally, because it is increasing impervious coverage, which is why we're required to detain it on site.
Right. That's why you need the catchment.
Any development, even a single-family home, would need some type of catchment, sir.
There's no catchment there now.
That's because the existing building is outdated. DEP didn't have standards. This district gym when that building was built. The DEP standards are much more stringent now, which is why we have to comply with them.
Now let's go across the street. Again, a catchment system over there, and you have to treat the water over there.
That's correct.
Now you mentioned something about, the other engineer mentioned something about a maintenance agreement. What kind of contract would the developer have to enter into to treat that water?
I know that's not...
That would be the purview of this board, it would be the purview of the mayor and council. It's a township law. As to a written agreement.
Well, I think the question,
Mike, question is a general question about what types of
objection
agreements exist.
Just say the word.
No, well, DEP on top of what the requirements are as far as detention, on-site, water quality.
Stop. And also, the reason I stopped before is only one person can speak at a time because Angela, the court reporter, only had 2 hands. Can only take down one person at a time. So, that's, but I think you should ask your question again. I think it's a good question. If the witness can answer, he can answer. If he can't, he can't. Go ahead.
Can you describe...
And if Ms. Berger has any objection to it, says the word objection, and we'll discuss it. Go ahead.
First of all, you would need a maintenance contract for both catchment areas.
Again, the DEP has their own mandates, and they require that you prepare a maintenance manual for whatever quality device you propose. On top of that, there is a maintenance schedule that has to be followed, and that periodic, maintenance, whether it's 2 inches of rainfall, you come out, you got to check, make sure that the system's operating, and you have to, in the manual, you have to identify who is the responsible party of that maintenance agreement. That's what they require.
Now, the lot across the street, 89 State Street, I believe. The lot across the street. Right now, are there any structures on that lot?
No, it's vacant.
Right. There's not a runoff problem with that lot now, correct?
Well, because it's sponsored.
Exactly. It's just open space.
Well, it's uncontrolled runoff, so you do have uncontrolled runoff, meaning that when it rains, there's nothing to collect it. There's nothing to stop it from coming into the municipal storm system. When we build it, we're we're proposing a catchment area. It doesn't have to be protection. It could erode, there's other issues there from having a vacant piece of land.
But you're proposing a catchment area and the maintenance contract and everything because you're going to pave over the open space.
That's correct, and on top of that, by doing that, you improve, again, same thing that we're required to do in our system, we're required to do on that parking lot is, we're required to reduce the amount of runoff coming from that site. Reduce, not maintain, we have to reduce it, meaning that we're improving the municipal system if that lot was built.
Now, who pays for the maintenance contract?
Again, I think I testified to your borough engineer's question that if we're required to provide a water quality device, whether it's this side or that side, we will maintain it. That's what I testified. If that's required by your board engineer, we will comply.
And who is we? Who is we?
Who's we what?
You said we will maintain.
We as the owner's reps and the developer or the municipality, whoever is required to maintain it, will maintain that system.
Are you testifying, sir, that the township may have to take over the responsibility for maintaining that catchment?
Sir, I didn't. The only question regarding maintenance was for the water quality device, not for the system itself. That's a municipal lot. We don't have responsibility to maintain that. It's a municipal lot.
So, if I understand
Well,
it,
it
developers...
may be, the agreement will be that they have to take responsibility. I don't know. Well, that, Ms. Berger maybe can answer what was the arrangement done with the township. If there was such arrangement regarding this specific issue.
It's my understanding that there was no agreement for the applicant to maintain the township lot in the future. The township employees will be maintaining the township lot as they do for other township properties.
Okay, that's your answer.
Let me see if I can clarify this. Across the street, catchment area has to be maintained. Who's going to pay for it?
I think the question was asked and answered.
I think the township, I think what I understand now is that the township is going to maintain municipal parking lots. I'm not sure that's what I hear.
All right.
Next question.
How much will that cost?
Do you know how much it costs?
I do not.
Next question.
Could it cost $10,000 a year?
He just said he did not know.
Have you ever worked on areas that have similar catchment areas?
Similar one way.
It's similar, approximately the same size, same amount of runoff?
Yes, sir. I did a project down the street at 140 State Street, I believe.
At 140? And how much does that maintenance contract cost?
I don't have that information.
Do you know if there's a contract with the township that would permit the developer to use 89 State Street?
I do not know.
Someone, I believe the engineer that testified just after you, the township's engineer, talked about something about, used the word association having to pay for the maintenance contract. Do you know what he was referring to?
No.
Do you know anything about a resolution passed by the township council back in 2016 having to do with this property?
I do not, sir.
How many units does the developer propose to build here?
The proposal is for 68.
Could I mark as an exhibit Township of New Jersey Resolution 66-2015, having to do with 100 State Street development?
I'm sorry, what do you want to mark in there?
I want to mark a resolution. It's Resolution 66-2015.
Well, you can mark it as an exhibit, not as an evidence. If you have any question that relates to this,
I would like to show him this document.
Okay, so mark it as each one. And show it to Ms. Berger first. No? Well, you can mark it. In the meantime, let's see, Ms. Berger can take a look at it. I think that's only fair, and that's how it's supposed to be done. And this is an exhibit for identification only, not into evidence. If you want to move it into evidence, you can do that later if it's appropriate. Ms. Berger, step away from the witness.
I'd like to direct your attention.
Just watch the microphone so the...
Down to the second whereas.
I'm going to object because it's my understanding that this cross-examination of his direct testimony, and we're getting to things that have nothing to do with his direct testimony.
Well, let Mr. Beach ask a question that has something to do with the direct testimony if it relates to this ordinance. So ask the question and then maybe connect it up with the document that you seek to show the witness.
I'm correct, aren't I, that your testimony is based on a building with 68 units, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'm going to direct your attention to the second whereas, which refers...
Why don't you do the following? Why don't you read the whereas and then ask a pertinent question?
All right. That's a good idea. You're right.
Thank you.
Whereas defendant 100 State Street LLC...
But slow down. Do me a favor.
Whereas defendant 100 State Street LLC has entered into a contract of sale with 100 State Street Development LLC to sell the property so as to construct a multi-family rental residential building consisting of not more than 63 residential dwelling units, subject to the terms and conditions hereinafter set forth, and there are many conditions. Do you know why this township resolution says no more than 63 units can be built here?
I do not, sir.
I'd like to mark another document.
Let's do this though. The first document was what ordinance or resolution?
The first document was a resolution passed by the Township Council, and it's Resolution 218-2016.
Give a copy to the clerk so that you can keep the exhibit.
I'm sorry, I've got the wrong resolution. It's Resolution 66-2015, adopted by the Council on April 7, 2015.
That's each one?
That's each one.
Why don't you give a copy to Ms. McLean, or just when you're done, so she keeps... No, Ms. McLean will keep a copy of the exhibits.
All right.
And you'd like to mark,
Yeah, and I would like to mark as Beach 2, a Resolution 218-2016, adopted on September 20, 2016, a resolution dealing with the 100 State Street parking lot agreement.
Ms. Berger, you see it? Okay. Question.
Whereas number 3, whereas, and by the way, this resolution refers to 100 State Street Development LLC as the developer. Whereas as an incentive for the approval of such application for development, the developer has proposed to design, construct, pave, and stripe a parking lot on premises owned by the Township of Teaneck, commonly known as 89 State Street, Teaneck, New Jersey, and also shown and designated as Lot 5002, Lot 23 on the tax map of the Township of Teaneck and to lay out and restripe angle parking along State Street, all at the developer's sole cost and expense. Now, my question is, do you know why there's no reference to the townships having to take care of this catchment area in this resolution?
I do not know.
And it also refers to angle parking along State Street. What does that refer to, if you know?
I'm not familiar with the resolution, so I don't know the content of what that conversation was.
Is the developer also supposed to put stripes on the State Street itself?
I object because you just answered the question.
We've heard about the play area. You're trying to reduce the side backs, the amount of space on the space you would have on each side of the building, from 30 to 15, correct?
Correct.
So that's why the play area would be 15 feet wide.
Correct.
I mean, 15 feet is the length of a basketball free throw lane, right?
Well, to answer the direct question, yes, but we feel we provided appropriate space within the building, which is why we didn't count on utilizing that space other than for a buffer.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Beach, I'm assuming you want to move those into evidence?
I mean, they're borrowed documents.
I do, but I think you can all take public notice. These are public records.
Okay, well, mark them for a purpose. I trust you want them moved into evidence.
I do,
Okay,
and I'd like you to take notice of them.
wonderful, thank
Just
you.
a copy that you give to Mr. Green of those two documents, okay? Mark Beach 1 and Beach 2.
I've given them to
There's a lady standing in there. Please step forward.
But Mr. Beach, the ones you mark, I need to put in the file.
I'll tell you what, I will give you my copy because they're easy to print out.
Good. So just step to the side, Mr. Beach, take your notebook so the lady can.
I'll let that go.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Paula Rogovin, live in Teaneck. Rogovin. I'm active in the environmental movement. I'm saying that because I want to ask some environmental questions that are related to this issue. I'm concerned, we're concerned, I'm concerned about climate change, and we're in a period of climate emergency. During this time, every town, every city needs to preserve as much open space as possible. When things get paved over, then the rain is not absorbed.
What is your question?
Okay, so just to lay that out, what's currently on the place where the parking lot would be across the street from the building?
It's, I believe it's the vacant lawn area.
Pardon?
Vacant lawn area. Vacant lawn area.
Lawn, it's lawn. Would that be paved over for the parking lot?
Partially.
Okay, so we'd be losing open space there. The building, what was the width? 30 feet is what the town regulation is. How many feet would it be?
You talk about the front yard setback now? Yeah, our front yard setback at the two corners is 10 feet, and it extends it to a wider area between the lobby and the entrance area, and the requirement is 30 feet.
But you're asking for 15 feet
On either side, that's correct.
on either side. There goes open space again.
So here's how you do it. So say, isn't it true that you're reducing open space? That's how you maybe ask the question, and then he has to say yes, because it's true. Right? Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman.
In the parking across the street from the building, is there any guarantee that anyone from the building gets a parking spot?
From what I've been told, that they're not designated parking spaces for this building. It's a municipal lot, open for the public, including our residents.
Because people said at the last meeting that it's a very trafficy area and it's hard to get parking. So sometimes could it be filled entirely with people who don't even live in the building?
Could the adjacent park be filled with people that don't live in the building? I think that's more than likely.
And let me help you. It's the truth, sir. The parking lot across the street is open to anyone.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay. In the parking at the side of the building, are there any designated spots for the employees, the custodians,
There is none.
That concerns me because
This help you also. And assuming there are custodians, people who come to work, building.
every building has a superintendent and other staff. So I'm just concerned about where people are going to park, because it's already a parking nightmare. Would each apartment unit get one spot?
I think that might have been that was a test at the beginning of the proceedings.
That each,
I believe that's the case, ma'am.
and if a family had 2 cars, they could not apply for a spot in that
Somewhere
parking
else.
lot.
Ma'am, I don't think this witness is the right witness to answer who could apply. The landlord will assign parking to each of the tenants. Use the mic.
And the motorcycles, is that considered the one vehicle per unit?
No, the question was from a board member, can we accommodate motorcycles on site? And identified that there's open space, not occupied car spaces, that we can accommodate motorcycles on site without losing any of the other spaces on site.
Okay, do you know how wide an SUV is?
It depends, they're around 7.5 to 8 feet, ma'am?
Okay, and, wait a minute, 7.5 to 8 feet. And how wide is the Camry?
That's under 7 feet, under 7 feet.
Okay, and these 8-foot wide spots would have to accommodate a 7.5.
And the SUV that is of that width, of that 8-foot width, you're talking about the Army Hummers. Those are the widest, which would not be accessed. But if they were, we do have wider spaces on site to accommodate a larger vehicle.
If you can get, if you're lucky enough to be the person who gets the wider space.
Just a question. Try to relate it. Ask a question.
I'm concerned because like I had some knee surgery, and there are other people like me, when I get out of my car, I have to open the door pretty wide.
So, ma'am.
And so I'm very concerned about these
Let me
8-foot
help you.
spots that are not
Ma'am.
what's required by our town.
Ma'am, let me help you. If you need to open the door wide in order for a person to have full access to the vehicle, would there be enough space to do that at the proposed location?
Yes, there will be, Chairman. As I testified earlier, where the doors are opening, you have a full 9-foot width. So those are typical municipal standard spaces at the car doors. So you have plenty of room to exit and enter your vehicle.
On both sides.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to appeal to the zoning board to think about the climate change
Okay.
issues.
That will keep coming. At a later time, you can come back and list that opinion. Mr. Powers, you would like to ask some questions of this witness?
I would, thank you. Charles Powers, Teaneck.
Well, we're speaking to the mic first.
Charles Powers, Teaneck. I want to just
Could you spell the last name for the record, please?
POWBRS. Thank you. I want to follow up on something that Ms. Rogler was asking. You said that the parking lot across the street, which is going to be paved over, is lawn, is that right?
It's vacant, it's one, there might be some gravel, but it's vacant.
How many trees are there on it?
I don't believe there are any.
Absolutely wrong, sir.
Ask my question.
Okay, are you sure that there are no trees on
Mr.
that?
Powers, let me, you ask a question, you're very good at it, you've done it so many times. If you don't like the answer, don't argue with the witness. You ask the question, he answers, he didn't know, he doesn't know, or maybe he's wrong, he might be right.
Are there trees which are proscribed from being cut on public property, on that property? I'm sorry, Teaneck, yours.
You are correct. There are some trees based on the aerial image. Again, this was done as a concept for the meeting. There are some trees that will have to be removed. However, we're mitigating that by also adding a substantial amount of vegetation on site.
And they have to provide a report for
To the CD, she has to do the stenographer has to do her job. The laughing is not included.
I'm sorry, it was funny.
If you have something to say, hold it and come to the mic in your turn.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know if any of the trees that are on that lot are those trees which are proscribed from being cut on public property by the township?
Well, I think it's a municipal lot, so it is it's municipality.
I said, are there trees which fall into that category?
What was it? Repeat that again?
Are there trees? There are some trees in this town which you are not allowed to cut from public property. Are any of those trees on that property?
I am not sure.
Okay, thank you. I want to go back and make sure, I'm a little slow, so I want to try to understand where we really are. If I understand it, you came in today, you were responding to a series of questions that proposed some significant change. I believe in the second that of the parking lot, am I correct about that?
That's correct.
And you went through the entire presentation, and I'm not sure where you ended up, whether or not you were denying that the developer would accommodate that additional set of spaces that you would achieve, or you were simply recommending that the developer not do so. What is this? I'm trying to understand the relationship between what you presented in the last meeting, and I watched the whole hearing.
Are you asking if there's a difference between what he was in the last time and this time?
Yes, I'm trying to understand. Where are you now in respect to the drawings and testimony you gave last time? Right? Is the position that you, at least you as the engineer, are representing the developer on, that you have made no changes whatsoever in the parking arrangement, with the possible exception of additional delineation of space for motorcycles?
You're accurate. We have not made any additional changes besides the motorcycle and the bicycle safety.
So we are back to the question of how the RSIS understands the full complement of required spaces for a 68-unit structure of the particular type that you are talking about, and the configuration of bedrooms, etc. Is that correct? There is no.
What was the question that I wasn't following?
Are we to understand your testimony from last time is in fact the position of you as the engineer and the developer about what it is that we in Teaneck are being asked, and the board is being asked to approve? There's no change from what you proposed last time, with the exception of the motorcycles.
There's no change.
And how much space is there left for the motorcycles?
The motorcycle spaces we can accommodate approximately 6 on-site motorcycles, approximately 15 bicycles.
And what are the dimensions of those spaces for those motorcycles?
Motorcycle spaces, obviously, there's no standard per RSIS for motorcycles. There are approximately, but you can accommodate a motorcycle with an available width of 4 by 9 foot. We have much larger areas than that, but I think the minimum usable space will be 4 by 9.
Well, let's talk about the retention area.
Sure.
This is, I don't think I actually understood the drawings that I observed, and I haven't observed them all. The retention area is how many feet below the lower deck that you now added in this new configuration?
change in the configuration.
No, I know, there's no change from your last testimony. There is change from your 2016 application.
I think your first question was, what's the depth of our detention system? The rim elevation on one end, I'm pointing to sheet C 6.00. This is the ground floor drainage plan. And what you see in that dashed line along the perimeter is our underground detention system. At the far right corner, the access to the detention system is at elevation 97, and the depth is 89 feet, so 8-foot depth. And the pipe size itself is 4 feet. So from grade to the top of the pipe is around 4 feet.
And what is the water table at that point?
We haven't taken geotech, haven't done geotech at this location. That being said, you would be concerned with the water table with respect to a detention system if you relied on infiltration. This is an enclosed detention system that will collect the runoff and discharge it at a much slower rate.
You say you do not know whether it is or is not sitting in the water table?
We haven't done the testing.
So you say you do not know?
I do not know at this time what the water table is.
And the relationship of that system to the one that's going to be in it, are you going to be installing the one across the street?
Me personally?
No, of course not.
I think the developer
representing.
I don't know the specific agreement between the mayor and council of the township and the developer with respect to the construction and installation of that system.
Well, there is a developers agreement that they have actually expired and they need to be reviewed. But are you
Question.
Do you know that developers agreement?
I don't know anything about it, sir.
Sorry?
I do not know anything about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Sorry,
Powers.
Mr. Pollack, if you don't mind, quick question for you. Do you have information to suggest that the trees in the lot are of the type that should not be cut?
I made a verbal, a visual observation of it this afternoon. I suspect at least 2 of them are, but I cannot confirm that. But I will check with the CHP advisory board and find out. Thank you. Thank you. Ma'am?
Yeah, do me a favor, everyone, please turn off your phones. Make sure at least they don't make any noise. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tanya, T-A-N-Y-A, Pagan, P-A-G-A-N, Raggio, R-A-G-G-I-O, hyphen Ashley, A-S-H-L-E-Y.
Hi.
Thank you. Good evening.
Question of this witness.
I am going to be questioning the witness, and I'm looking at you first because I want to make sure you understand what I'm going to question the witness about.
Good.
So my background is in pediatrics, prevention.
Well, I don't think it's really.
I thought.
I'm not going to object because it's for the purpose of question only.
Yes, there's no
No testimony.
testimony.
I'm not testifying.
Just ask the question.
Okay, I need to say something before I say anything else.
I don't think so.
Okay, last time I was here, the attorney did the same thing and did not let me speak. And my question has to do, I did my homework. I went and I looked at the plans, I looked at the master plan, and it talked about public health. So I was trying to set up the question contextually. I'm no lawyer, but I'm trying to ask him about the issues surrounding the 15 feet for children and about public health issues regarding residential crowding. So I was trying to explain contextually why I was trying to ask him.
But he's an engineer.
He is an engineer.
That's all he is.
I
He may not have the
understand.
same qualifications as you have.
I understand, but I am going to ask him this as an engineer. So, sir, do you know of any studies, or have you looked at any studies regarding the area requirements for a play area for children in such a structure? Have you built other units?
One question at a time.
I'm sorry.
It's a good question, and you did it perfect.
Okay.
So let's take one step at a time. They can ask a follow-up question and continue until he's done.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, I'm not aware of any requirements for a residential building. Those requirements are specifically, I believe, for a dedicated daycare center, which this building does not have. I know they have specific state standards, but for a facility like this, I'm not aware of any.
Okay, let me ask you the question differently. As an engineer, are you aware of any studies that address the planning in a suburban community where you put a structure like you are proposing of how much square area you should allocate given the number of children you might expect in this kind of building?
I think our planner has direct information just about what you asked with respect to expected children and all that, and I think he'll be more appropriate to answer your question.
Is he here this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no problem.
There's not a lot of individuals in there.
Okay, so we'll revisit that question. I have a second question. Am I allowed a second question? Okay. Thank you, sir. And again, I don't know if this is appropriate for you as an engineer or for the gentleman who's sitting here. In terms of residential crowding and the impact on the mental health and the well-being of a community, when you put a structure with as many units as you are proposing in such a small square area, again, are you aware of any studies, any planning studies in communities such as Teaneck where you have, more private homes, the adverse health impact of that? And again, I'm asking as the engineer, looking at the master plan of Teaneck as well as what we're supposed to do when we grant variances, looking at public health.
Again, ma'am, I wish I could answer, but I think it's more the purview of the planner looking at the master plan and see what it means.
She's asking, do you know or not?
I do not.
Next question.
Thank you, sir. So if it is this gentleman's purview, may I ask that those questions be answered later, or do you need to ask?
Of course, you will have an opportunity to ask questions after his testimony is over.
Okay. I want to thank you for allowing me to ask my questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would you like to say something or ask questions?
Good evening, my name is Carol Crone, K-R-O-N, and I'm a resident of Teaneck.
Hello.
Hello. Because I didn't hear the word mentioned, when you were talking, because I didn't hear the word mentioned, when you were talking about parking spaces, and you were talking about 8 foot or 9 foot, how many of these spaces are designated handicapped?
I'm going to refer to a drawing, ma'am. We have 2 handicap spaces per floor, 4 total, and that complies with the ADA standards for quantity.
And what is the size of those spaces?
Those spaces are full unimpeded 9 by 18.
9 by 18,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
9 foot wide.
Yeah, and actually the size themselves can accommodate the van accessible as well, which is also a requirement.
So those spaces have to be 9 foot.
They have to be a minimum of 8 actually, with an aisle of 8 foot as well for it to be van accessible. We exceed both of those requirements. So the space is 9 and the accessible aisle is 9 as well.
Okay, so then all spaces are not 8 foot. The handicap spaces will be 9 foot. Is
That's
that what you're
correct.
saying? Thank you. And you said there are 4
4 total.
total.
Yes.
And so does that number depend on who eventually occupies the building? And if there are more residents occupying the building that need handicap spaces, then does that number increase?
That standard is identified and designated by the Department of Justice, that quantity. What they do on site as far as management to accommodate a person, if those spaces are occupied, I think management.
I'm sorry, you're going a little faster.
I'm sorry.
I only have one.
No problem. I think the on-site management would have to accommodate a person if those 4 spaces are occupied. They would have to accommodate them by other means.
So space stretchers? I don't understand. What does that mean?
At this time, we comply with current ADA standards. There is room if one needed additional space to make it ADA as well.
And that happens after the building is built and everything is marked? How does that work?
Well, I think it's if there's a need, they have the ability to accommodate it.
Which means, what is ability to accommodate?
Meaning that we have the necessary area to provide additional ADA spaces if they were required. At this time, they're not required.
Right, because it's not occupied by identified people who might be handicapped, right?
Well, for design purposes, again, the Department of Justice sets standards based on how many spaces you provide. We're providing up to 100, the requirement is 4. So we provided 4 spaces.
Maybe if I can help you, I think, and the engineer can tell me if I'm incorrect.
I'm sorry, could you speak just a little louder?
Yes, I will speak
Thank you.
louder. There are standards by the state that are required for building multi-family units.
Right.
And as far as I understand, the proposed amount of handicap or these spaces are in accordance with the law. And they have been already, the plans have been reviewed by the building department and have also made sure that they are in compliance with the law.
Right, so the law must be dependent on some kind of study that says 4 per building of this size.
Exactly, per some formula, as you say, if there's 68 units, they have to provide 4 handicap spaces.
ADA is a federal code.
I'm sorry, can I hear?
I'm sorry. It's called ADA, and it's a federal code.
I understand the ADA.
That's what they're
Yes.
testifying.
So I'm just curious, just as a matter of curiosity, having a mother that I just had to wheel into a handicapped spot, because there's a lot of space needed for a wheelchair, accessible and all of that.
That's all required by guidelines.
Okay.
The architect is
And I was just trying to clarify, if more than 4 cars are needed by people who are handicapped, then what the developer is saying is that after the building of the parking area, then they will make accommodations for those extra people who need a handicapped spot.
I don't think the owner has testified to that. And I don't think
Okay, so I just want to be
it's
clear,
required.
so if there are more than 4 people, you do not have accommodation for extra handicapped spots as of now.
As of now, because I don't know how many more they were needed, they're not illustrated.
And also that the developer will provide that if more than 4 people need handicapped spots. Is that what you're saying?
We said that if there is an extra need, there is room that was testified by the engineer to modify spots if the developer finds that it's necessary.
There is room.
Yes.
There's room. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
And you speaking louder too.
Okay.
I just want to clarify something because I think it's important. Regarding making room for extra handicap, I mean, that's only up to a certain extent. If it turns out the building is occupied by 50% of, people who are handicapped, you don't have the ability to.
No.
Okay, I want to be clear.
That, no one wants to make that representation, but there was representation that there's room to accommodate the space a little larger if necessary. And if the developer found that there were permanent residents that needed that, there would be ability to do so.
So my question
Can't
is,
speculate now.
if that is the case, Ms. Berger, approximately how many extra spaces could be made handicap accessible, and how many regular spaces would that now detract from?
I wouldn't know, but we could look up that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Alan Stone,
SOHN 752 Cottage Place.
Good evening.
Good evening. If I may ask, and again, I know some of this reiterates some of the questions that were asked earlier.
Try not to reiterate.
What is...
I'll do my best.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Chair. What is the state of water runoff on the merged 100 State Street, the 5004, lots 3, 4, and 5?
The property itself, there's no infrastructure because it is outdated. Majority of the water just runs all over land into the adjacent properties. This piece is somewhat vacant. That goes either directly to State Street or it runs off to the perimeter properties.
And at 89 State Street, 5002, lot 23, where the proposed parking lot will go? What is that?
We haven't, at this point in the design, we only prepared a concept plan. We don't have topography on that property.
Will the water runoff situation be aggravated by the covering over with lot coverage of impermeable lot coverage at those two sites, the merged 100 State Street and 89 State Street?
Repeat that again, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Will the water runoff situation be aggravated by the addition of impermeable coverage as it will combine lots at 100 State Street and at the parking lot at 89 State Street?
It will not.
Either inherently based on just adding coverage. Inherently just based on covering more of that with impermeable material.
No, because we are addressing the increase in impervious coverage by providing detention systems.
And where will that water detention system be located at 100 State Street?
It is, and I showed it earlier, this is again, sheet C 6.0 is located along the perimeter of the building.
So the water detention will be provided on-site for 100 State Street and on-site for 89 State Street?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a plan for restriping State Street as required by the developer's agreement?
I do not have it.
Again, the developer's agreement, which was included behind Resolution 218-2016, which was approved on September 20th, 2016, and again, I think Mr. Medeo has that as Exhibit A1, specifies that the developer shall have sole cost and expense, design, construct, pave, and strike the parking lot. Okay, sorry. And continues, it says, and to lay out and restripe angled parking along State Street, subject to the approval of the township engineer.
Again, sir, I'm not privy to that resolution. I'm not aware of it. Maybe our attorney could address that. I'm not aware of it.
And just for the record.
No. Microphone and talking directly into it. Sure. You're still not talking directly into it. Loud. Please.
Can you hear now?
You're not loud. Again, it worked perfectly like half an hour ago for 30 seconds. Is there anybody who can address that issue of why that microphone is not working?
Wow.
With regard to that.
That's good.
Sorry, it wasn't me, it was the rest of the microphone. With regard to that, we'll present testimony later, but the restriping was going to be required when we did not have as many parking spots on site. So by putting 2 levels of parking on site, there was no need for the restriping, and those spots are available for the public on the street. So that's why it would change.
Ms. Berger, with all due respect, I think you're reading into the text of the agreement.
So, let's not get into an argument.
No.
Absolutely so. Just ask, this is the time. This is the time.
Again, it was Ms. Berger's statement that I think is inaccurate. I understand your concern.
Take what it is and move on.
Have your statements about traffic flow and its impact on State Street reflect the restriping and angled parking to be added as required under the agreement?
I didn't testify to the traffic flow and the restriping.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silverstone. All right. I think you already were here to ask me questions. I'm sorry?
I found my last question.
Okay, well, gentlemen, you can come up next to
Hi, my name is John Santaella. I'm on 5th
let me, Santaella, resident of 154 Pinewood Place for 42 years. Now, most of the questions I had were asked by others, so I will not bore the board or the audience with my repeating them.
Thank you.
However, Ms. Crown just asked a question about handicap parking, something that had not occurred to me at all. So, the question was answered. There could be additional handicap parking built. That's not a definitive answer. It's a possible answer. By the same token, if such additional handicap parking would be created, it would impact existing parking and lessen it.
Correct. I think there was a question from a member of the board who asked the same question, and that was answered to the affirmative.
Okay.
Can I answer that, Chairman?
Sure.
If this were approved, we're required to provide 100 spaces. We could not eliminate spaces unilaterally without going back to this board if we needed additional 80 spaces. So no, we would not eliminate existing spaces to accommodate 88 spaces. If we had the room, we would. If we needed additional spaces to be converted to 88, we would have to come back to this board and ask for additional variances. We can't just take spaces away to accommodate the 88.
There's only a limited amount of space there. If you add an additional handicap spot, that invariably takes away from the existing space.
Well, like I testified earlier, we have these areas on site that are striped that we could potentially move some spaces to accommodate additional spaces. That's what I was referring to, not that I would be eliminating any existing spaces.
Now, numerous questions were asked by the gentleman here, which you could not answer. That's not within your expertise. I understand that. But those are questions that could be answered by either the architect or the developer. Why aren't they here? That I address to the board.
They're here.
No, the representative of the developer is here. Does she really answer for the developer? Or can she only guess? And was the
There are many other witnesses here this evening. If there were very specific questions about a witness who testified earlier, we could have them brought back if they're not here tonight. But right now, what we're doing is asking questions of this witness. So there's not really an issue about the architect. Although the planner is here, I think is your traffic person here? Or someone else? Who's here this evening?
My planner. We concluded with our traffic expert and our architect.
So architectural testimony is over, traffic testimony is over, engineering testimony is back, and planning testimony is next.
Fair enough. Now, numerous questions were asked of you earlier of would there be, would there not be, and your answer was there could be. Now, English is not my first language, but I was deep learning, and I know that the verbs would and could are not interchangeable.
Can you be more specific?
What question are you referring to?
You were asked about parity or the access to the, and the drawing's not there right now. Well, whatever. The point is that it was, the question was in the form of would, and the answer is could. Another question was, did the architect provide for? The response was, I think he did.
My witness is under oath, and he's answering to the best of his ability under oath.
I'm not questioning that at all.
So
It does not answer the questions that it was asked.
So that's exactly the point. If it doesn't answer to either our satisfactory or to your satisfactory, that weighs the evidence on and the credibility of the witness.
I'm not questioning his credibility.
No, but that's how the process works. If you can't answer straight on something, or there may be something that he's unsure about, well, it reflects also how we perceive his testimony to be credible, less credible, forthcoming. And that's all comes into evaluation whether or not eventually this application will be denied or approved. So You can summarize at the end of the case. You can make a list. This witness, let me give you some advice. And that this witness, he wasn't sure about this, and therefore you shouldn't take his credibility for granted. And you poke hole in the testimony. That's the process. And you will have that opportunity if you listen carefully to all the meetings, take notes, copious notes. You can attack the whole thing at the end. We're going through all the testimony.
Thank you. Okay, again, I'm not questioning the gentleman's credibility at all, except that when he answers, I think he's answering for something that he thinks that the architect may have, and that's something we have to take into consideration. And that's your job. Yes, it is. And I will hold you to that.
We'll question the credibility of any witness that comes.
Okay.
The same way as the credibility of the people who make statements at the end, why and how, who. The same thing, we will also take that into account.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again.
Keep an open mind until the end of the case. Okay, ma'am, you had a follow-up question.
Thank you. Lillian Lewis, Lewis. Yes, my fourth question is founded. Regarding, I don't know if I wrote it down correctly, something about 8,000 gallons and something about sewage. Can you explain that again, please?
I think what your engineer was referring to was the sewage that would be generated by this building. Anything that exceeds 8,000 would have to get approved by the DEP, and he was asking that we submit to them and we agree to.
So you anticipate more than 8,000 gallons of sewage per day?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, that's based on the 68 units.
That's correct.
But if you had the 9 units that you're permitted to have, then of course you would not exceed this 8,000 per day. Probably substantially less than 8,000 gallons per
It's a
day.
calculation, so yes, it will be less.
Okay, even if you decrease it from 68 down to maybe 20 units, it probably would not exceed the 8,000 gallons per day.
Right. It's an equation based on non-units.
Right. To the excessive units, thank you.
A very quick follow-up. A very quick follow-up.
Okay, please, but
Thank you.
you get one chance to ask questions on cross. It is not a continuing. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Last question.
Thank you. Very quick follow-up. Debbie Eliyahu, E-L-I-Y-A-H-U. As a proud member of the former member of the Hells Angels.
Just ask the question.
With regard to motorcycle parking, are they the 4x9 next to each other? They're not like one behind each other?
They're, I'll show you. At the upper level, they'll be next to each other. In this area, there'll be one in front of one another, meaning that like a parallel space on a street, you've got one in front of the other. That's how that configuration would be at that location.
But there would be room to move out without knocking
Absolutely,
somebody
there has to
else's
be.
motorcycle over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. That concludes the public's question of this engineer, Johnny Cross. Okay, does Angie need a break? Okay, Angie needs a break, and then we'll go straight into your next witness, and then we'll do a good and welfare a little later tonight.
Thank you, John. Board.
Most likely, we're going to do good and welfare around 10 o'clock, soon after.